Fantastic job, mate. Fantastic job. P3. Well done. Well done.
Grosjean still making moves to try and gain places.
Follow their way through, and Lance Stroll going off the track already, and that is that damage for Lando Norris. That's certainly damage, and a big fire there.
Romain Grosjean was born on April 17, 1986 in Geneva, Switzerland.
Didn't see my name in the top 10 on the big screen.
To a Swiss father and a French mother, speed seemed to run in his veins. He came from a family of athletes and engineers, including an Olympic ski racer and a legendary aircraft designer. As a child, he was fascinated by racing, and karting became his first love. In his teens, he dominated the junior formulas, quickly rising through Formula Renault and Formula 3 with remarkable talent. In 2007, he won the Formula 3 Euro Series Championship, and in 2011 he won the GP2 Series, the classic stepping stone to Formula 1. Each victory fueled his dream of reaching the pinnacle of motorsport. Breaking into Formula 1. Grosjean's break into Formula 1 came in 2009, stepping in for the last races of the season at Renault. It was a baptism of fire. In his first race weekend at the European Grand Prix, he collided with Kazuki Nakajima and tore off the nose of his car. A tough start, but a reminder of F1's danger. Undeterred, Grosjean returned to F1 in 2012 with the Lotus team, formerly Renault, pairing with champion Kimi Räikkönen. In his debut season, he surprised everyone. He scored his first podium at the Bahrain Grand Prix in April, finishing third, and later stood on the podium again in Canada and Hungary. Fans were captivated by the fiery young Frenchman who could mix it up with the best. He earned a reputation for aggressive yet intelligent racing. By 2013, Grosjean had added several more podium finishes, finishing that year a career-best 7th in the World Drivers' Championship. He had arrived as one of F1's rising stars. Lotus and Haas, a new chapter. The next chapters of Grosjean's career saw both triumphs and challenges. He made headlines in 2012 by becoming the first F1 driver in 18 years to receive a one-race ban after a multi-car collision at the Belgian Grand Prix. A misstep that highlighted the thin line between bravery and recklessness. However, he bounced back quickly. In 2015, he earned his last F1 podium at the Belgian Grand Prix, proving his talent. In 2016, he took on a new challenge, driving for the brand new Haas F1 team, the first American-led team in the championship. As a team leader, he helped build a car from scratch and scored regular points. He notched solid finishes, including an impressive 4th place at the 2018 Austrian Grand Prix. While he no longer chased podiums every race, Grosjean embraced the underdog role and demonstrated relentless determination with Haas. Bahrain 2020, the fireball crash. Then came the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix, the fateful moment that would change Grosjean's life forever. On the opening lap, chaos erupted at the Sakhir circuit. In swirling dust, Grosjean's Haas clipped Daniil Kvyat's AlphaTauri and shot off the track at over 220 kilometers per hour, around 136 miles per hour. The front of his car smashed into a guardrail at an angle, splitting the barrier and launching the rear of the car into the air. The crash ripped his car cleanly in two, its engine flying out as the remaining tub wedged against a second layer of steel. Fuel lines ruptured and instantly ignited an enormous fireball that engulfed the cockpit. Within moments, the Haas was a blazing inferno. Spectators held their breath. A monstrous wall of flame and smoke rose from the wreck. At that moment, it seemed there was no escape. A miraculous escape. Grosjean was trapped. He later recalled that, for a moment, he truly believed he was going to die. Both of his hands were on fire. His gloves were melting away. Looking out, he saw only flames blocking the exits. The inferno roared around him on both sides. In a split second, time seemed to slow. "I was at peace with myself, thinking I'm going to die," he said later. But amid the agony, something snapped in Grosjean's mind. He thought of his 3 young children at home. They cannot lose their father today, he resolved, and that thought gave him strength. Using every ounce of will, he started moving step by step, methodically. He remembered legendary champion Niki Lauda's fiery crash and refused to become another statistic. He twisted his helmet and pulled his shoulder free, and then, finally, he wrenched his right foot out of the wreck. Desperation gave him one final burst of power. He kicked and threw his body backward, tearing himself out of the burning cockpit. With a final leap, he scrambled onto the track just as the fuel tank exploded behind him in a massive burst of flame. He later said that those 28 seconds felt more like 90, a painful eternity. He even felt his body begin to relax, in peace with myself, thinking I'm going to die, until thinking of his children steeled him once again. Grosjean hit the ground next to a fire marshal and rolled to safety. Burnt and battered, he fell onto the grass. Medical crews instantly rushed to his side and doused the fire from his racing suit. Miraculously, despite second-degree burns to hands and feet and a broken bone, Grosjean was conscious and able to move under his own power. He insisted on standing up, on walking to show everyone he was alive. It was a staggering sight, a Formula One driver emerging from the very heart of fire. In the weeks and months after the Bahrain crash, Grosjean described a profound shift in perspective. He still bears the scarred flesh of his left hand as a constant tattoo of survival, a reminder on cold mornings that he is alive. Gratitude has become his daily instinct. Whenever things don't go my way, I look at it and say, well, it could be worse. I could be that I'm not here, he told Reuters. In a candid interview, he said every day since has felt like a bonus day, a gift that comes with the realization of how beautiful life is. He laughs that he sometimes still grumbles about trivial annoyances, a canceled flight, a late meal, but quickly remembers that he's been given a second chance. Each morning, applying cream to his burned hands, Grosjean smiles. I am alive, I am here, I can play with my kids, I can go racing again. I've got my lovely wife next to me. I'm happier in life just because I've realized how good life is even with its problems. That crash could have been my end, but I'm here. Every day is a bonus, Grosjean says. He emphasizes that life is worth living. He won't let fear hold him back. I'm not going to stop doing things because they could potentially be dangerous, because then what's the point of living, he said. At the same time, he's calmer, more mindful. He now cherishes ordinary moments that once passed unremarked. Running with his children, building Lego blocks on the floor. These are the things that truly matter. My 3 kids are my biggest source of pride and energy, he told reporters, noting that his little ones see him almost as a superhero after the crash. In the days following the crash, Romain's family, wife Marion and their 3 young children, drew even closer. Marion, a television journalist, flew straight to Bahrain the moment she could, and her first act was to embrace him tightly. He said she needed that hug, because even though she could see me in the video, it was hard to process that, yes, I was in one piece. On social media, Marion poured out her thanks to the rescuers and medical team, marveling that it had taken not just one but several miracles for her husband to survive. In a poignant post, she even thanked their children who pushed him to pull himself out of the fire, acknowledging that his own courage and training kept him alive. Even in the wreckage of that moment, their family's bond was being strengthened. Grosjean has spoken often about how thoughts of his wife and children sustained him in the flames. As he sat trapped in the burning cockpit, he realized they cannot grow without their dad. And that thought gave him the extra strength to break free. Today, he and his kids laugh about how the youngest thought he had magical superpowers, convinced he'd simply flown out of the car. His son Sasha told friends how dad vanished into a fireball and reappeared unharmed. Those stories, the horror of the crash mixed with the miracle of survival, have brought the family even closer. Grosjean admits the hardest part of his ordeal was knowing how terrified Marion and the children were. For the 2 minutes and 43 seconds they believed he was dead, everyone in their circle thought their friend, their father, their husband was dead. That thought alone, he said, made me cry. Now, grief and fear have turned to gratitude and new appreciation. Over the following months, Grosjean leaned on both faith in the future and practical help. He continued the sports psychology work he had already started earlier in his career and credits it with keeping nightmares at bay. He openly discussed the crash with his kids and Marion, even watching the fiery footage together so they could all understand what happened. The experience taught him the importance of mental health support. As he told hosts of the F1 podcast Beyond the Grid, he wanted to ensure any post-traumatic fears were addressed early. I've had my couple of flashbacks, but since then I've never had a nightmare, he says. Now he can calmly walk through every detail of the crash with them, joking about his Mickey Mouse hands and feeling thankful that he can still play with his kids and build Lego with them. Grosjean's life philosophy shifted dramatically as a result. He talks about looking at things differently, about slowing down and cherishing each day. Every morning, he is reminded of how lucky he is to be alive. And he really lives it, cycling, kite surfing, and spending hours with his children, things he didn't have since he was 17 before the crash. Racing isn't everything anymore. He still dreams of getting back in an F1 car, but only on terms that won't endanger his future. "I've got 60 years or so to go with my left hand," he said, reflecting on his recovery. "One race is important to me, but it's not as important as living a normal life for the rest of my life." If he can't race in a given year, he says he'll fill the time riding bicycles or kite surfing or helping his kids with homework, finding balance and joy outside of motorsport as well. Spiritually, Grosjean says the crash was almost like a rebirth. He often mentions how close death was. At one point, he felt his body relax and think it was over, but realized it couldn't end that way. Emerging from the fire felt like pulling himself into a new life. "I think I needed to get out for my kids," he reflected, and coming through meant never taking any moment for granted. He humbly still credits aspects of training and chance that saved him, from seatbelts to the Halo device, but also acknowledges feeling truly happy to be alive, moved to tears by the flood of support after the crash. These days, he looks more often to the sky than the time board, content that he was given another shot. In the public eye, Grosjean has also become a quieter advocate for safety and mental health. He's thanked the engineers who fight for driver protection, noting that the very Halo headpiece he once questioned was critical to his survival. The charred remains of his Haas are now a safety exhibit, and Grosjean sometimes says he can't even look at it, but he believes showing it is important, to show people that Formula One is also a job that puts a life on the line. He admits he feels a new empathy toward his rivals after his crash. Whenever there's a big accident now, he instinctively asks, "Is everyone okay? I'm a bit more worried than I was before for my competitors." And he speaks openly about trauma and therapy, hoping other drivers and even non-athletes can see that asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. Above all, Grosjean's story after Bahrain is one of renewal and love. He and Marion have faced down that fiery night as partners, and their children have grown up seeing their father as a real-life superhero. The fear and uncertainty have given way to a deeper bond. Marion has said that surviving those 28 seconds felt like a miracle from an unseen hand, and that their whole family now lives under the motto of cherishing the present. "Every morning when I wake up," Grosjean summarizes, "I remember I'm alive. I can play with my kids, I can go racing again, I've got my lovely wife next to me. I'm happier in life just because I've realized how good life is."